Good morning. Breathing again. All right, this time I'm coming in with a oxygen gradient. And the other day I went into hypoxia just to kind of demonstrate what happens, how we stress out, how we build up carbon dioxide that has to be pushed out. Very important part of that. This is again, we're going into dichotomy of how we survive. Oxygen during the day. Sunlight is free energy. We oxygenate to bond with and interact with our environment that talks to our DNA. That oxygen fuels the messenger RNA, fuels the DNA expression, fuels our DNA unpacking that enables us to evolve within a human lifespan. And the environment is a very rich part of how our oxygenated human biology develops and prospers, no matter what the challenges are. So we have kind of moved away from that because look at me, I'm surrounded by plastic here. There's no breeze, there's no bugs, there's no sense, nothing. I'm in an office, sometimes many hours a day. I'm cloistered up in my home. I have to create the stimulus artificially, lighting a candle. Women in perfume, my favorite hand lotion, Jimmy Choo, and other cooking. We have to work at it. That's what PROoxia is. We understand we have to work at it. Whereas ultroxia is like, all right, I've worked at it. I'm on my game here. So the other day, in session number 22, I started the session hypoxic, and I was very uncomfortable. It was very difficult to kind of pop out of it. Ooh, how do we fight against this COVID? We bolster up, and we bolster up with an oxygenated system. We have strong mitochondria. No, athletes are not getting this. The mitochondria in athletes, because they oxygenate and move, there's your function. Oxygen and function. It's not just hyperbaric or, hyperventilation. No, it's oxygen and function. Huge to understand. So, and the mitochondria in athletes are tight as a drum. There's no COVID getting in there. Can't penetrate. They're locked and loaded, these things, because they're strong. So in hypoxia, in obese, in comorbidities, in aging decline, not all aging decline, not everybody over 80 is dying from this. We're seeing these survivors. We need to look at their demographics. So after I did my hypoxic experiment, I thought, well, there's really nothing else I have to say. Then I've been doing morning meditations, transcendental meditation. The head of the David Lynch Foundation, Bob Roth, at 7 a.m. and at 6 p.m. 5 p.m. I forget. I usually do the morning one. I think it's 6 p.m. He provides a guided transcendental meditation with thousands of people on the line. And it's a short introduction, 20 minutes of pretty much silence, and then he gives a couple of inspiring quotes. It's a good, it's settles the physiology, the dominant parasympathetic physiology, which is open, unafraid, unhurried, self-actualized in response to the environment. Or in the transcendental meditation, it's kind of an artificial one because we breathe in with what they call a mantra. I've not been trained in transcendental meditation, so I'm kind of making it up myself. A friend of mine suggested that I do it, who has been trained. And she said, well, what do you call your God thing? And I said, well, in the Bible, it's Jehovah or Yehovah. And it says in the Bible, say my name and I will appear. A-O-Ah. No coincidence. A-O-Ah. Something's going to happen because you are stimulating three circle of brain area. And then, I mean, sometimes I exercise with that word, and I don't make mistakes for whatever reason, because I'm out of my control, micromanage, constantly got my writing is the frontal lobe is like a rudder, and when you lock into that, it's like you're driving a car like this. We know that's not how you drive a car. If it's a good car, you drive it like this. And we know when people do drive a car like that, they're not very good drivers. So, if we manage our life, micromanage it, conniving and trying to hurt people and knocking them down, it's not a very well driven life. So oxygenation kind of diffuses that. When you oxygenate, you're oxygenating the 97.7% of the brain that is not grabbing the wheel. The wheel is just the tiniest part of the car and the ship, and our hanging onto it like that ignores the momentum of the car, the size of the car, the power of the engine, the good analogy with a car and grasping the wheel. So when we're hypoxic, we're grasping that wheel. And I was thinking this morning, Darwinism is fight or flight. I mean, it's an amygdala-based theory. Well, that's kind of old-fashioned. And even 200 years ago, man, if you lived in that environment and you haven't found a different one, then bye. You get Darwined out. So if you do have a stressful environment or toxic or dangerous environment, you pick up your guns and you go. You pick up your arrowheads and you get out of there. You migrate. And when you migrate, you can go 5-7 days without water. And when you migrate over long distances, you can go 4 or 5 weeks without food. So evolution has designed us to fuel with oxygen. Can't go 4 or 5 minutes without oxygen. Fuel with oxygen, etc. We talked about that in our last session. So, but during transient fear periods, if a tiger walked by me right now, I would freeze. I would not breathe. I think you would do the same thing. Because if you ran, he'd see you, he'd grab you, and you'd be lunch. So we do have, and when that happens, carbon dioxide builds up. Pathways in the brain are carved and cleaved. First of all, you practice survival and hope it works. So when you come out, you have launched a new network. You have launched a freeze and wait survival network. It worked. It'll work next time too. So next time one comes by, you're not afraid as much because it's a network. Now, when you build a network, other things are taken away. And that's what hypoxia does. It's like weeding your garden. So I tried that in my last lecture on PROoxia. I went hypoxic. So that was, and you saw me kind of recover from that. I had to first get all the carbon dioxide out, because carbon dioxide latches onto the hemoglobin as readily as oxygen does. Get it out first. Long neck, loose jaw, loose shoulders. Oh, mechanical breathing. Go back up in the trees and hang there and hope no tigers climb up the tree, right? And stretch in the morning. And you're also covering up your vulnerable area, right? Well, we came up right. This area is vulnerable. This is where our heart and lungs and access to that is. Death. They can bite you in the back all they want, right? So what I found this morning, I did my transcendental meditation. I'm coming full circle back to my transcendental meditation. And often, okay, so I've talked about stock loading breath. Just a little bit out with this mantra thing, which is Yehovah, Father Almighty God. I get it out of my head. And then providence, pure, pristine, pure, purposeful providence. And I'm just like lifting up in that with that cognition. The providence thing really puts the helium in my upper body. Wow. Stay way up, just pressing that oxygen into my lungs. And then I make a decision to stay there. And I stay in the oxygen and I tank up, I breathe and breathe and breathe on top of that, right? And just like in evolution during the fear center, when I breathe out, I breathe a network into it. Get rid of all fear and ego. I also let a lot of people off the hook down there. my siblings and other relatives who don't seem to understand what I'm doing, but that's okay. That's their problem. No, but really, it's letting go of stuff, right? Here you're building a freedom to be available for the environment through breath, oxygenation. All of the cells in the brain have oxygen. That oxygen, wonderful oxygen gradient. So what I'm trying to tell you today is that from the hypoxic experiment, which is perfectly legitimate in the Darwinian sense, but and I think you saw last in session number 22, once you lock into it, it's got a grip, it's got tentacles. It doesn't want to let go. The amygdala does not want to let go. Long neck, loose jaw, loose shoulders, loose back, loose arms. And allow the, breath to tank up again after you expel carbon dioxide. So I'm still kind of recovering from that. It's hard. It's hard to have a stressful episode and toxic episode. And when something frightens you, it traumatizes you because it disorients and it grooves in a new network so decisively from hypoxia, especially if you sustain it. And chronic, progressive, even mild to moderate hypoxia leads to allostatic load, disease, cell death, and open doors for COVID. So that's what we're doing today. That's what we're talking about. And I keep thinking I've said enough about oxygen, but there is really no end to this science because of the growth potential over the course of a human lifetime for us to evolve, be strong and happy and steady in our self-actualization over the course of a human lifespan. And we don't really have too much to fear today. You can make up stuff to fear, lock up that amygdala and stay there for months, years. Bye-bye. Or you can that beautiful back breath that it's a mechanical breath. It literally lifts the ribs up and the diaphragm comes with it, and like a vacuum cleaner does, sucks that oxygen in. Blow it all out. and combine it with function. Very important. So bless you all. Breathe on. And that, my friends, is yet another breathing lesson. All right. See you again soon, I hope.